Welcome, everyone, to today's Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're tuning in. Look, if you're a business leader, an executive, or just someone hyper-focused on scaling a brand in today's, frankly, super crowded market, you're in exactly the right spot. We're going to do a high-level, strategic breakdown of a concept that is literally redefining how top-tier organizations grow. We're tossing out that old playbook of just throwing money at the wall to see what sticks. Instead, we are dissecting the partnership ecosystem paradigm. It sounds like a mouthful, but it's basically a strategy that makes the complex art of scaling incredibly clear.
So I want you to let this question sink in for a second. What if the absolute fastest way to grow your brand isn't spending more on advertising, but actually building the right partnerships? I know, right? It totally challenges those traditional assumptions we all have about relying strictly on massive ad budgets. I mean, for decades, we've been taught that if you want more growth, you just buy more exposure. But the data, the trends we're seeing right now, they're telling a very, very different story.
Which brings us to Section 1, Why Traditional Marketing is Changing. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it contrasts the old way with the new way. Think of traditional marketing like a fleeting handshake. We're talking about single sponsorships, blasting out a one-time press release, or doing a really short-term influencer campaign. They're totally transactional and, let's be honest, easily forgotten. While they might give you a temporary spike in awareness, they rarely create a sustainable competitive advantage, mostly because consumers today see right through them. But an ecosystem, that is about long-term collaboration. It's a massive shift from being purely transactional to being deeply interconnected, where both sides are winning continuously.
Let's dive a bit deeper in Section 2, the Partnership Ecosystem Explained.
So what exactly is this thing? Well, a customized partnership ecosystem is a carefully planned network of strategic relationships, all designed to support specific business objectives through long-term collaboration and mutual benefit. The absolutely crucial point here is that this isn't just casual corporate networking. It's not just, handing out business cards at an industry mixer and hoping for the best. This is a highly structured, deliberate business strategy. You're engineering an environment where your brand and your partners can thrive together continuously.
To put this into perspective, imagine a clean energy tech brand teaming up with a university research lab and an environmental professional association. You aren't just adding their value together, you're multiplying it. It's like a giant puzzle. Each one of these incredibly diverse players brings their own unique expertise, resources, and dedicated audiences to the table. That combined credibility creates this massive snowball effect. And trust me, that kind of momentum is virtually impossible to replicate just by buying ads.
All right, let's look at the payoff in Section 3, Core Business Benefits.
The source material we're examining today zeroes in on a very specific number of compounding benefits that emerge when an organization fully commits to this model. And that number is 7. 7 distinct advantages that act as foundational pillars for sustainable business growth. And we're talking real growth here, way beyond simple vanity metrics. And this brilliantly illustrates how theory translates directly into measurable outcomes. Let's walk through it. When you engage in joint research projects, maybe with a university or a major industry publication, it builds long-term trust. It provides genuine value, not just a self-serving ad. What about co-authored articles and guest posts? Well, those directly support your SEO and online visibility by generating powerful editorial backlinks and referral traffic. Joint educational initiatives? Those strengthen your brand authority, stamping you as a true thought leader. And those shared announcements massively enhance your digital PR. Literally every collaborative action here translates to tangible business growth.
Which brings us to a really massive advantage: organic expansion. Ecosystems actually unlock access to totally new industries, regional and international markets, and key decision makers way more effectively than paid ads ever could. Just think about it. When you collaborate with a trusted partner, you're being introduced to their established audience by someone they already know and trust. You're completely bypassing the noise, bypassing the ad blockers. You're reaching highly specific professional communities and C-suite executives that advertising simply can't buy. It's sustainable, organic growth fueled entirely by shared credibility.
Now you might be wondering, how do we broadcast all this amazing collaborative work? Enter digital PR. The source material frames this not as some isolated, siloed tactic, but as the critical engine, the ultimate connector that amplifies the entire partnership ecosystem. It's the piece that takes your joint research or your co-hosted event and turns it into earned editorial coverage. It announces the collaborations, generates real media interest, and shares those valuable insights with a much wider audience, all while supercharging your online authority. Essentially, digital PR is the megaphone for your entire ecosystem.
Moving right along to Section 4, Building Your Custom Ecosystem. Okay, let's dive into this. In the planning phase, step 1 is that you absolutely must identify organizations with complementary, let me clarify that, complementary, not identical goals. From there, step 2 is developing shared objectives so both of you know exactly what a win looks like. Then step 3, you produce collaborative content that the industry actually needs. Notice the emphasis on value here. This isn't just about slapping your logos on a website together, it's about solving real problems. Finally, step 4, rigorously measure those outcomes and keep the communication flowing. This is a living, breathing relationship that requires constant nurturing to make sure it's hitting those KPIs.
But I do have to give a firm warning here. Corporate missteps in this space are super common. The absolute biggest mistake organizations make: prioritizing quantity over quality, or blindly chasing partners based on audience size alone. Listen, if you ignore shared values just to get your name in front of a million people, it's going to fall flat. Strategic alignment, keeping a long-term focus, and ensuring true mutual value are vastly more important than just hoarding partners for massive reach. Consistency and trust, that's the whole shebang. That's what makes the ecosystem actually survive and function.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, the future of brand growth. I really want you to take away this one key concept from our explainer today. Collaboration is the new competition. As markets become more and more interconnected, trying to dominate in total isolation is just a losing strategy. The source material highlights how AI, rapid digital transformation, and shifting consumer expectations are radically changing the landscape. I mean, in a world where literally anyone can instantly generate content, authenticity and trust become your absolute most valuable business assets. Building an ecosystem of trusted partners is exactly how you insulate your brand and prove your credibility in a really noisy, tech-heavy future.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly provocative thought from the source material. It says, the brands that grow fastest in the future won't necessarily be the ones with the biggest advertising budgets, they'll be the ones with the strongest partnership ecosystems. Wow! It really makes you look at your own marketing budgets and strategic plans in a whole new light, doesn't it? The competitive advantage of tomorrow isn't bought, it's partnered. So how are you going to start building yours? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Start looking at your industry not just as a landscape of competitors, but as a potential ecosystem just waiting to be connected. Get out there and start building.